So, Kyle, we were going to break down the fight for the final 3 Western Conference playoff spots. As we've discussed, the Clippers, their strength of schedule is 7th on that list. They still have a couple games against Cleveland, a couple games against OKC, and a couple games against the Knicks. And they're going to have to do it, well, the next couple weeks here, as they announced Norman Powell, their all-star snub, is out right now. And they just lost last night to the Suns. And in these breakdowns, the Detroit Pistons, when you got to go on the road, they might not pop up as a hard team, but I don't really want to go to Detroit off a back-to-back with no Norman Powell. I don't want to do that. So who knows? The Clippers could easily lose tonight. That'd be great. Obviously, Nuggets and Kings got to take care of business, but that'd be great. Next on the list, and the Clippers have 2 more games against the Kings, so we'll see what directions those go. The Warriors, strength of schedule, 16th. Their hardest games, they still have, or I think they have 1 more now against the Knicks, 2 more against Denver, at Memphis, at Lakers, and they have that one last matchup against the Kings on the 13th that we mentioned. And here's the thing about the Warriors. I am interested, very, very interested in how they add Jonathan Kuminga back into this lineup. I think it might be as soon as this weekend. Everyone is calling him the X factor, and at some point it could look really good. But Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler can, for anyone who ever had, and I got to look at the career, I don't really care about the career 3-point percentages. For anybody that I know in my mind, I would compare DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy Butler's 3-point percentage the same. Jimmy Butler can't shoot threes.
No, he cannot.
He cannot. The DeMar DeRozan conversation was a bit overstated. DeMar DeRozan didn't shoot threes, and at one point maybe couldn't, but more so just didn't. Jimmy Butler cannot shoot threes. You watch Jimmy Butler, it's ethical foul baiting. That's basically his offensive game. It's offensive rebounds, it's cutting to the basket, and it's foul baiting. That's Jimmy Butler's offense. He's not going to take over a game.
Alan, yes. Have you been watching the Heat the last 6 years?
I'm just saying. People used to, and myself included, guys like Jimmy and DeMar DeRozan are mid-range merchants. They're completely different. Completely different now.
Every Miami Heat game for the last 6 years has been 101-98. That's just how it's been when you have Jimmy Butler as the center point. And by the way, Jimmy Butler was 1 3-pointer away from being a 3-time Eastern Conference champion with that style of basketball. That 1 3-pointer against Boston in Game 7 in 2022 was the reason Miami didn't win a 3rd Eastern Conference championship with Jimmy Butler.
So you have Jonathan Kuminga, who's a really good player, and I do think that maybe they'll probably figure it out at some point. But Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler on the court together with Draymond Green, who his threes have left ever since that injury. He was shooting the ball really well to start the season. So you get those 3 guys. Kuminga's been coming off the bench, but you're going to see this lineup.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing of it. We're adding this X factor. Steph, and then either Moses Moody or Brandon Pajemski to round out the 5.
They're not going to play Kuminga at the 4, are they?
I'm just saying the whole idea, maybe they just do change of pace with Kuminga. All I'm saying is they're really high on getting Kuminga back, but I don't know how that spacing will work at all. So they're going to get Kuminga back. They're going to be better. How that looks, I don't know. So that's what the Warriors have. They're saying we still have this addition who Kuminga, while coming off the bench, was playing basically the best basketball of his career.
And they've won 9 of 10 without him.
There you go. Which, again, we saw it with the Rockets. It might take a game, might take 2, might not take any games. Maybe they'll just continue to roll. So we'll see there. The Timberwolves, strength of schedule, 28th. So that is why we're still a bit worried about the Timberwolves. They have a pretty easy schedule. They do have 2 more at Denver. Feels like Memphis should be up on the list. Memphis got to play all these teams. So Memphis, they still have a game at Memphis, a game at Milwaukee, and those 2 games against Denver are probably their 2 most important games.
But if you look at their rest of their schedule, 2 against they beat the Sixers now. So 1 more against the Sixers. By the way, I think the line last night was 14, and they hit exactly a 14-point win.
Vegas knows.
2 against Utah, 2 against Brooklyn, 2 against the Pelicans. They go to Charlotte. They play the Spurs, which I think everyone here plays the Spurs, but they get the Spurs still.
Mm-hmm. Kings, strength of schedule, second, as we've talked about. Hardest, they have 2 more against the Cavs and OKC. Somehow, that's crazy.
I think they only have 1 against OKC.
Okay, 1 more against OKC, 2 more against Denver. They have Boston, another game against New York. They're at Indiana. They're at Milwaukee. They get a little bit of a break as they have a couple games against, I guess you could put the Spurs in this category now, but the Wizards, the Hornets, the Bulls, and of course, the couple most important games for them.
I'm realizing now that I did the research, all 4 of these teams have a home game against the Spurs. So we can just ignore the Spurs.
Yeah.
All 4 teams still play a home game against the Spurs.
The most important games, that tiebreaker, or to officially win the tiebreaker against the Warriors on March 13th. That doesn't mean to say that they can't win it. If they lose, we will break down how they can still win it. The at Clippers and then home against the Clippers. So that is the breakdown on who needs what to win. In my opinion, I know they have a really hard strength of schedule, but some things, again, you're fighting to stay away from that 9 seed. I do think something would have gone pretty wrong, and that wrongness is going to happen within the next couple weeks here. When you have the Celtics, when you have the Thunder, the Bucks, all these games, if you can survive March, and this is a bit of Captain Obvious here, but you survive March not in the 9 seed, then I do not think we will have to worry about the 9 seed. But the opposite of that is you end March in the 9 seed.
I think you gave the most articulate point yesterday, which was it's 4 teams fighting for 3 spots.
Yeah.
There's going to be semantics all around there. Like the Rockets are going to fall a little bit and maybe the Suns will turn it around. But the easiest way to look at it is 4 teams fighting for 3 playoff spots.
Right.
One of them is going to get a bye in the 6th seed through to the playoffs. Everyone else is going to be playing for the play-in. So once the 6th seed gets decided at the end of the season, it'll become 3 teams fighting for 2 spots.
Right.
Assuming you don't choke against the Suns. But 4 teams for 3 spots is the best way to look at it, which makes me feel better about the Kings' chances if you look at it that way.
Just don't be that team that's 9th. That's it.
It's better than thinking of it as 6 teams fighting for 3 spots. Now it's really 4 teams left.
Don't be that team that's 9th. You have, again, it's rough sledding for the Malik thing. I don't want to come off as super nervous because we don't know. Let's just take it day by day. But he is out against the Nuggets tonight, and we're gonna enjoy being in the 8th seed right now. But things could look a lot different tomorrow, depending on who wins, who loses, and maybe in a good way. Maybe Jokic does sit, and maybe you beat the Nuggets with Jokic. Who knows? But all these games matter, and tonight is going to be a rough one or a tough one without Sabonis and Malik Monk. When we return, The Athletic has power rankings, and the